What if one staircase template could speed up your stair design decisions and cut shop drawings in half? As an interior designer, you know that staircases are more than just circulation. They are architectural moments, but they're also where an incredible amount of design time disappears. From straight runs and switchback stairs to floating treads, curved profiles, railings, nosings, and custom details, many of us end up redrawing the same stair logic over and over, just slightly adjusted for each space. In this tutorial, you will learn how to build a smarter, more efficient staircase design workflow by turning your stair drawings into reusable, adaptable design assets. We are going to focus on creating flexible stair templates, building CAD blocks for treads, risers, stringers, handrails, and guardrails, and setting up detail libraries that can be quickly customized so your expertise can compound with every project instead of starting from scratch. Today, I'll be demonstrating this workflow using Rayon Design, where we will go step by step through importing DWG drawing, laying out stair geometry, designing custom stair details, developing railing and joinery conditions, applying materials and finishes, and organizing everything into a clear presentation and construction documentation set all in one place. You can go ahead and create a free Rayon account using the link below in the description to follow along and access some ready-made stair templates and detail libraries that I'm going to be using throughout this tutorial. Now, let's get started. Now, to show you my staircase design template and why it's so efficient, let's go through a realistic step-by-step process. So typically every staircase drawing starts with a space fit of your given project. This means you will start by importing a DWG file, edit and redesign it, and then start working on staircase design and shop drawings. So let's go ahead and import our DWG file. So I'm just in a blank model here in Rayon. I'm gonna go to my menu up here and go to import DWG. We will search for our DWG file, which is right here, and hit open. Now it's gonna ask you a couple questions about layers. I'm just going to import the default and say import. And then this is what it's going to look like. Now, when it comes in, it's going to ask you to define a measurement, right? So we want to make sure this thing's to scale. Typically, you'll select something that you know the measurement of. I usually just do like a door opening. So I'm just going to select 2 points, and down below, it's going to ask me, if this measurement looks right. Now, this is saying it's basically 3/4 of a meter, which is correct. If that doesn't look correct to you, you can always change the units. So, if it's millimeters or something, centimeters, feet, whatever, you can change that there. But it's detecting meters, and that looks right to me. So I'm going to say continue. And then we'll pick an insertion point and just click, and then it will drop it in for us. And then if I go take my dimension tool and dimension that opening that we just looked at, 2 foot 5 inches, that's 3/4 of a meter. So that is correct. I just like to double check that real quick before I start drawing because we want to make sure that everything is to scale. In this example today, I'm going to be showing this small cafe design project where we're just going to test fit a few different staircase types to see what is the most space efficient option. Now you can see that with this CAD file that we brought in, it brought in and inherited all of the layers and the blocks from the file. So you can see here, it even brought in some of the hatch work, which I'm actually just gonna go ahead and delete. We can also just hide it in our layers panel, but I'm gonna get rid of that for now. But you can see that everything that's brought in is kind of just like line work at this point. So my preference is to actually retrace the CAD line work and blocks with Rayon walls. So in order to do that, I'm gonna just actually window over everything, right click and lock. So that way when I add in my Rayon walls, it's not going to affect any of this other stuff. And then first thing we wanna do is go into our layers and create a new layer, which I'll call Rayon walls. You can be more specific. You could say like existing walls or demo walls, that kind of thing. But let me just show you how you can actually start retracing this. And specifically, I wanna show you these interior walls, which we're gonna end up demoing. So I'm gonna just grab my wall tool down here and start tracing. You can see that it actually kind of like snaps to the walls. So I'm just gonna click and just start tracing. We can easily move these, so I don't really have to worry too much about it. But once you kind of like trace the walls that you want, you'll just hit enter. And then I'm gonna go select one of these walls and just kind of make it match up with our existing walls from our floor plan. And let's add in one more wall right here that we want to connect to our wall here. Hit done. And then we can just kind of like move that up to connect to our rayon wall. So now what we've got here is these kind of walls that are going to be indicating demolition. So I want to stylize these to indicate the demolition. And now, to be clear, you can also, if you want to, go through the process of retracing all of the exterior walls as well. For just this tutorial, I'm just going to show you kind of how to retrace these interior walls and stylize them to show them as demo. And then I'll show you what kind of like a complete retraced product can look like here in a second. So for demo walls, we're probably going to show something maybe in red, or maybe something hatched, or maybe both. So in order to change the style of these walls, which are just kind of like plain white right now, over here under styles, what I can do is I can not only change the thickness, but I can also change the fill. So let's say we want to, do it red. And then we want to also add in, I guess we want to just add in a hatch here. So we'll just choose one of these hatches that looks like a good demo. So maybe like those. And then actually, this is where we'll change it to red. So now we can see that there is a red hatch applied, and that's going to indicate that that's a demo wall. Now, all these other walls that I drew are also going to be demo walls. In order to apply that change as well, what we can do is go back to that demo wall that we just drew. We're going to hit the plus sign and save that as a style. So I'm going to save that as demo. And then now what we can do is we can easily access that style, or we can just click on the wall that we want to change and grab our eyedropper tool and then just select whichever style we want to match. So I'm going to hold down my shift key for both of these and then just eyedrop that, and it's going to change all of my walls to match those. Now, the cool thing is that if you do go edit that style, over here, if we edit the style and let's say we, change those to 6 inches or something, it changes all of those. So let me do something a little bit more dramatic, like 12 inches. And you can see that it's changing all of those. So anything that has that style applied to it will change. Now, if you're going to be doing the exterior walls, maybe those are obviously those are going to be at their own style. You can always match the same kind of style that you had from the CAD drawing, or just completely draw something new. But the nice thing about drawing it on new layers is that you can always go back and hide your import. And then now we just have our rayon walls. So it's nice to just kind of keep those visible while you're tracing, but that is kind of how you can simply retrace and stylize some of these demolition and construction walls to kind of show the process here. So let me show you what this could look like once you go through the process of retracing everything. So here is what the demolition plan looks like after a bit of restylizing, retracing. And you can see that we've got some styles applied to the walls. So you can clearly see which walls are demoed. And then over here, I just kind of have this nice little blank floor plan that we can work from that's showing the walls are demoed and then also any new construction. So that's kind of what these blue walls are indicating. So this is kind of where we can start now planning where we want to add in our staircase. Now, if you want any more further clarification on how to trace walls or stylize anything else, there are tons of videos on Rayon's YouTube channel that can guide you through that. Now that we are ready to add in our staircase, we're going to pop into the staircase design template that's going to have all of our lovely staircase designs pre-made for us that we can either just copy paste or even edit. So into the staircase design template, this is what this should look like. And you can see that we have plenty of different, inspiration images along with floor plan, as well as side views of these staircase designs. So instead of, drawing these from scratch every single time, now we can basically just select, whichever one we want, copy that, and then bring that into our working file. This is just an example of how you can structure your own process and have your work compound instead of starting from scratch each project. Plus, you're welcome to just use this template from that link below in the description and apply this to your own projects as well. If we zoom into some of these, we've got some very standard layouts, just like typical L shape, U shape, as well as these nice round, curvy, more intricate staircases. And again, like I said, they're very drag and drop, copy paste. So This is all just work from previous projects that I've worked on that is just ready to be used and adjusted easily without having to start from scratch. So basically, in any past projects where I've used a staircase or detailed a staircase that I maybe want to use on a future project, I just copy and paste that here into my template that I can easily access for future projects, and then that way I don't have to start from scratch every time. Now, of course, every staircase design needs to be tailored to a space's size, height, and slope. So these are just a handy design benchmark starting point, but they're still probably going to require some adjusting and redrawing for each project. It's just nice that you don't have to start from scratch each time. So let's go ahead and start testing a couple of staircase types in our current design. Because this is just like an open cafe space, maybe we want something more of like a curved staircase, something a little bit more sculptural, more like an architectural moment. So if we go back into our staircase template, let's go see if we can find something nice and curvy. So I'm eyeballing this one down here, which might be a little bit too big, but let's go ahead and copy it just for fun. Go see if that works. So I'm gonna, again, right click, copy as export, go in here, and then we'll just paste it. And as I had imagined, that's a little bit too large for our space. So we'll just delete that one and just go check out that other curvy staircase here and see if that one will fit. You can see that these are numbered. So stair 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then this is the top part of it. So I'm gonna grab the bottom part because we're working on the first floor right now. So let's say copy as export, go back to our model, paste that in here. Looks like that will definitely fit in our space, and I think we'll just kind of plop that right over here. Now you can see that this also brought in, like a wall that I don't want, and maybe some detail lines that you don't necessarily want. So you can easily just clean that up. I usually will clean up most of the dimensions because I don't really need that on this floor plan. You might need that on more of like a detailed floor plan, but this one in particular, I do not. Let's just go ahead and place that right there. And that's going to be like our staircase moment. I also am going to just go ahead and group this. So I'm going to right click group, and that way I can easily move that around without it losing any pieces. Now, if this is our other level, let's go ahead and copy paste the second half of it that will show up in the other half of the height of the space. So back to our template, let's go grab this piece that has the rest of the stairs. Same situation, we're just gonna copy as export, go back to our model, paste, and then I'm going to delete some of these details that I don't necessarily need. Get rid of that. All these dimensions I don't necessarily want. And I'm gonna I'm gonna window and group, and then we'll place it right over here. So you can see that this is kind of telling the story of right here on the first floor, this is where our staircase starts, and then up here, this is where it continues. Now, when drawing staircase shop drawings, it's also worth noting that Rayon also has a bunch of staircase CAD blocks directly in its library that has over 10,000 blocks in top, front, and side view for sections and elevations, alongside parametric blocks, and we even have an AI block generator, which I'll show you here in a second. So in order to access those CAD blocks, let's go ahead and go to the block library. So over here, I'm just gonna click on blocks, and we'll go to the libraries here. And you can see that if I go to libraries, it'll show us all these categories of different blocks that are in here. Now I'm gonna look for stairs and escalators. Let's click on that and see what we have. So again, there are tons of really cool, already pre-made blocks in here that are just completely accessible. And all you do is just click them, drag them over here, and it's just going to place it directly. So all we need to do is just hit open, and then that will open up our top view and then also the side and front view. So I can just drag and drop this top view in here again, see if that works. If it does, we also have the side and the front view. And also if you just want to start building out a template for yourself with staircases or other blocks that you use frequently or like, then that's completely legitimate as well. Now, if I go back over here to our library, I do want to show you that a couple of these staircases here are showing this little parametric tag here at the top left, which means that those are going to be a little bit different than your standard block. And I particularly like those because you can adjust the size of them without just like stretching or compressing the block. And let me just show you what I mean by that. So if you do find a parametric block over here, let's just go ahead and we'll bring in just like a typical run of stairs. So when you bring that in, this block is going to look a little bit different than other blocks. So if I select this regular block, you can see that I've got an option to kind of scale it up and down. But on this parametric block, I don't have those corners to scale, but you do see these little arrows. And what that is that that's actually just chopping off or adding stairs as you go. So what's nice about that is that it doesn't necessarily stretch it, it just adds to it. So that's really easy for if you do know that, you know, maybe the height of the space is changing or you want to be able to easily just adjust that. Instead of just stretching this staircase, it's actually adding treads as you go. When you're in your blocks, you can add a filter here, just say plus, is parametric, save, and that's going to show you all of the blocks that are parametric. Just look for this little symbol here in the top left. You can also search and it will maintain that filter as well. So that makes it super easy to find those parametric blocks. Now, what's really cool about Rayon is that you can actually transform any of your models into a template block or style library by just using the share button up here. So all you need to do is just hit the share button, and then you'll go to either libraries here and publish the styles or the blocks from this model. So for instance, say you're building out you know, this cafe and there are lots of blocks that you end up using that you're like, I want to be able to use these on future projects. You can actually publish all of those blocks into a block library that are easily accessible in one place. And then same for styles. So if you do create like that demo wall and then the new construction wall and then the exterior wall, and you're like, you know what, those are going to be really handy for the next project that I'm working on, you can just publish those styles and then easily access those on the next projects. Now, similarly, under this template section here, you can also publish this model as a template. So if you want to be able to use everything from the model, then you can just, you know, access this entire model again and use that as your template. Now let's go ahead and see how it all comes together in the final part where we're going to set up our client presentation. So heading back over here into our paper canvas, you can see that we do not have any pages set up. So you can either create a page or copy and paste presentation template that you already have ready. As we have kind of noted here, Rayon is obviously a one-stop shop to go all the way from our concept design to our construction drawings and client presentations. So what we're going to use the paper canvas for is kind of like the display and the presentation. And then the model canvas is obviously just our working canvas where we set up the drawings, and then we always have those up to date, and those are going to live update in our presentation canvas. So in our paper canvas, in order to add a sheet, we are just going to click the plus button and add a page, and it will just add a page right on there for you. Now you can continue that process by adding more pages and just kind of start laying this out. It's again suggested that you use any past templates to kind of start building this to make it easier. That way you kind of have like title blocks ready, you have areas for your mood boards ready, for your floor plans, all that stuff. So once you start to build this out, this is what your presentation will end up looking like. Just to kind of quickly explain how we got these views onto these presentation canvases, I just delete this view right here. So in order to add a view onto your page, all we need to do is go to plus, view, and then I have renamed my model canvas. So this is my model canvas that I want, and I am looking for my demolition floor plan. So I'm just going to kind of open this up by holding down my shift key, and this is kind of like everything that I've been working on. So once we find our demolition plan, which is right over here, now we can kind of scrunch this back in, and we're going to need to rescale this so it can fit on our page. And once we get that view over here, I've got all my other views over here at a 1:60 scale. So I'm just going to select this view and change the scale to 1:60. Just type it in manually here. So that way it fits and matches everything else. And then once you get it to the right size, then you just kind of place it on your page. And now we've got our demo plan right on here. So then you just kind of rinse and repeat that for all of your other floor plans, documentation. Again, we have everything kind of working on the same model canvas. Or, you might have them split up. You might have a model canvas for your elevations, a model canvas for your floor plan, whatever your preference is. Using a presentation from either a past project that you've turned into a template or just a past project is the easiest way to kind of get this presentation going. So then that way you have a good starting point. And even though you're going to be adjusting things, it's at least already there for you to start with. So once we get all of this looking the way that we want to, this is kind of like the fun part where you get to export as a presentation. So we can either export this as a PDF or PNG, which is very typical in the design world. So in order to do that, you'll just go up to the main menu here and we'll just go to export, and you can either export the images, either all of them or separately, or export a PDF, either all pages or separately, and that will package it into a nice little PDF. But the real cool thing is that you can actually export this as a presentation, so a URL link that you don't even have to, take out of the web, and just share that directly with your client. So in order to do that, you'll just click this share button and then presentation, and then just click this on, and then that URL is just what you'll share with your client. So when they open it, this is what it's going to look like. So that they can just kind of like arrow through, and this is like basically a true presentation. Again, it's very much like a PDF, but it is right in the web, so you never have to leave the web. And then if you make any updates, all you need to do is just refresh the presentation and export a new URL link. Additionally, if you are working with a team, you can easily add team members into your project. In order to do that, all you need to do is, again, in that share button, just invite them with their email, and you can make them an editor, admin, or just a viewer, and then you'll just invite them, and then they'll have access to be able to collaborate in real time. And that's the full workflow. From base plan to staircase design, shop drawings, and client-ready presentations. The big takeaway is this: when you stop redrawing staircases from scratch and start working with templates, blocks, and detail libraries, your work compounds, which means your design decisions get faster, your drawings get clearer, and your documentation becomes far more efficient. If you want to try this workflow yourself and use the staircase design template that I showed today, you can go ahead and start by creating a free Rayon account using the link in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next tutorial.